Fundamentals of Project Management. This is a presentation on adaptive project management. Adaptive project management is a structured and systematic process to continually improve the decisions and practices by learning from the outcomes of previous actions. What that means is that in our project, adaptive means the process that during the life cycle, during the activities that you do in your project, there is this process of planning, acting, observing, and reflecting on the actions you did. The idea is that information helps us build a better understanding so that we go and we have a new plan, we do our actions, we do observations, we reflect on those changes, and we continue with our planning. We're constantly improving our decisions based on the observations and reflections we made. What that means for development projects is that most of them are designed based on a series of assumptions about the internal and external environments. And these assumptions are used to develop all the project plans and all our project activities. That means that at the beginning of the project, we make assumptions about time, the resources that are available, the risks, the interests of our stakeholders, the political, social, and economic conditions in which the project is going to be implemented. All of these factors we assume at the beginning of the project to have a certain conditions. But as we know, project management in development means that these things will change. The environment is constantly changing, and it is difficult to go back and try to implement a project that was based on the conditions and when those conditions have changed. Let's look at the differences of traditional and adaptive project management. By traditional, we mean the old way or the regular way that we understand project management. The project goal in a traditional project management mostly is getting the job done on time within the donor requirements. As long as we do the job and we get all our budget and all our information completed, we achieve the goal. Adaptive includes elements that more focus on the results. What is the end goal of the project and how are we trying to meet that? Look at the multiple stakeholder criteria for success. The project plan in traditional is just a collection of activities that are executed and planned to meet the project constraints. In adaptive, it's a planning process. It's not just one-time action. It's a continuous process to achieve the expected goals of a business result. In traditional, planning is done once at project initiation, and if you're lucky, you begin the project with a schedule or a specific project plan that defines the activities that need to be done. In adaptive, plan is constant. Is done and adapt the plan when needed. Every time there is a change, every time there is a need to make modifications, we make changes to the plan. So in traditional, it is plan, but in adaptive, it's more about planning. It's a continuous process. The management approach, usually in traditional, is rigid, focused on the original plan. But in adapted, it is about the concept of flexibility. It's changing, and as the word says, adapted, meaning that we're going to modify the plans according to the changes that we see in the environment. The work in traditional is predictable, certain, linear, and simple. But adaptive means that we are working in areas where our work is going to be unpredictable, uncertain, non-linear, and complex. The effect on the environment in a traditional is minimal. But in an adaptive environment, in a development project, it affects the project throughout its execution. Control is mostly identifying deviations from the plan and putting things back on track. But in adaptive, we identify changes in the environment and adjust the plans accordingly. Key characteristics of the traditional is that all projects are the same. In adaptive, all projects differ, all projects change. The management style in traditional is that one size fits all, but in adaptive, is that it is not one size does fit all, that you need to adapt to the conditions, and your management style also needs to adapt to the conditions and the changes in the environment. In traditional project management planning, we mentioned that it was rigid, fixed, and done only once. So we create at one moment our original plan, and we try to move until we achieve the end. If there are very little deviations, the idea is that we try to bring it back, but the idea is that the assumption is that we know how to go from point A to point B, and we assume there's not going to be any changes to that process, that we can continue doing all our activities, and once we complete our activities, we know we've finished. Well, adaptive project management is more flexible, and it fits more the realities that we find in development projects. Is that at the beginning of the start, we start finding changes, modifications, risks. Our environment is constantly changing. So we cannot assume that we know how to get from point A to point B. We make an assumption that we have a way to do it. But as we start finding these changes, we need to start adapting our project. And that means that we need to find ways to move our plans and adapt them to the conditions so we can reach point B. And that's one of the main differences that we see, that not only that we don't know what are these major changes, but when they happen, we need to be able to adapt our plan, be flexible enough so we can achieve our goal in spite of all these changes. Thank you very much. It has been a presentation on the concept of adaptive project management.